After a week-long storm, it was surprisingly a nice day outside. I had spent almost every Saturday in my local game shop, Slackers. And the place was just local, I think. I mean, I hadn't seen any other stores. Anyway, the shelves always had new weekly stock to check out. They even had music sections that I would occasionally browse, and the owner of the store was pretty nice. At least 30 or so. Pretty laid back. Well, I had just gotten a Game Boy Color, which was a bit after its release, in 2000. So I went, as usual, to the Game Boy cartridge section. There was an interesting cartridge on the very top shelf. Now, I was only 12, so I couldn't quite reach it. I found the stool that was kept around here somewhere, and was finally able to do so. The cartridge was hard to take off the shelf, almost stuck on there, but after about 30 seconds of prying, it finally broke off. The cartridge was surprisingly still intact, and it had no label, just simply written in Sharpie, free. I basically just shrugged and asked the owner about it. Excuse me, is this game free? I said with a surprised look. The owner just took it from me and shrugged as he saw the label. Or lack thereof. I guess it is. He then handed it back to me and then went back to reading his magazine. I put the cartridge in my pocket as I began my usual round of the new stock. All the usual stuff. The Pokemon, Kirby, stuff like that. After I realized I couldn't buy anything anyhow, I went home. All the way home, I was strangely intrigued by the blank cartridge. I mean, I was ready for anything, though. When I got back to my room, it was just as I had left it. A typical 12-year-old's room. Spider-Man posters left and right, supplies ready for school on Monday, and my old clear Game Boy on the bed. I jumped into bed and popped the cartridge in. While it was loading, I was expecting some crappy game that just never took off. But no. No, the menu was what looked like an 8-bit field of grass. A setting sun in the distance. There was also no title. Just in big, bold letters, the word start. I pressed start and was almost instantly placed on a flat plane. The sun in the menu was now at the very top of the screen. My character had a hat and a t-shirt on, pretty pixelated. I began to walk forward with the arrow button and soon encountered a block. I touched the block and instantly died. I was taken back to the main menu. During the next game I played, the sun seemed lower by about 1 pixel. I figured out that A was jump, so I jumped over the first block that killed me. The same process happened for about a minute. Finding a block, then jumping over it. I encountered a pit after a while, just a block wide. Seeing no challenge, I jumped. I hit some sort of invisible wall and fell into the pit. I pressed the start button on the menu, and the sun seems about 3 or 4 pixels lower now. Nothing too odd. It just unnerved me a bit. I arrived at a pit, which seemed to be the one I came to earlier, and I got over it this time, feeling a bit accomplished. After a bit of walking, I came across a sign. Now, the sign was very detailed for a GBC game. The game told me to press B to read it. Don't let the sun set. The sun, by what I had noticed, had been setting more and more each game. I wonder what happened if you did let it set without completing the game, so I just touched the block over and over again. Each time the sun setting more, the screen getting darker. My heart was racing. I felt so rebellious, which I now know was a mistake. The sun finally set, the screen almost pitch black. I touched the block and died again. The next time I played it was broad daylight in-game. I just began to walk and walk and walk. I seemed so interested in absolutely nothing. I felt myself getting absorbed into the game. And I was just walking. So one day, the world just blacked out. I was placed in a game store and waited to be picked up by a kid again. I was picked up and played. Interesting kid. So I was walking and I ran into a block and died. The next kid suffered the same fate, but I felt a decade-long spell being lifted as he did so. I was free. And that made me wonder, am I nothing but some sick and twisted game? Doomed to walk a plane for the rest of my life? Doomed to pick up cartridges in game shops? I mean, maybe it's not so bad. After all, taking a walk does sound nice, doesn't it?